Hello. Welcome to this Rockstar showcase. But essentially, it is talking about the impact of a podcast and how that podcast can add into your content set and how it can improve other metrics in your business. So when we think about the different types of content that we're creating in business, the different things that we're doing, we're thinking about it all sewing together so that we don't have bits all over the place. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, essentially, is that if you've got all of the bits all over the place, then you can't really see the picture with clarity. Now, if we can bring those pieces together and they can support one another, then the picture becomes much clearer. So when we're looking at adding in a different medium of connection with our crowd, a different medium of content within our business, we're looking at how that sews together, and we're looking at what the business outcome expectations are for different things. What is, the business reason to do things? Because that's really important, because so often people are doing things in their business. They're doing the things, but they're not thinking about, what is the business strategy behind doing those things. Now, when we think about things like a podcast, we're thinking about a different type of content. We're thinking about a very intimate type of content, a very portable type of content, a type of content that people can consume on the go, that they can get involved in a very different environment to where they could read a blog, for example, or where they could watch a video. It can be consumed whilst doing other things. So it can be consumed a little bit more passively, but more intimately, because so often, you are talking directly into somebody's ears. So it is great for know, like, and trust. It is great for really stamping your expertise on what it is that you do. It is great for connection and engagement and showcasing your work. Now, on top of that, it also can have some really great benefits in terms of not only that know, like, and trust, but it can have great benefits in opening you up to a brand spanking new marketplace. Now, right now, if you don't have a podcast, then the likelihood is that if you go to Alexa, or if you go to Apple Podcasting, or if you go to Spotify, etc., you aren't found there. But with a podcast, you're opening up those channels of distribution of your work. You can go to Alexa and say, play the Cake Bite podcast, and a client's podcast will come up with that. Or we can go and say, play the Bizology Soundbites podcast. And if that's been enabled as a stream for the podcast, then the podcast will come up. And that gives you a whole new marketplace for finding new clients, for connecting with new people, but also, like we said, enhances the know, like, trust factor with the crowd that you already have. It can also be used to create conversion. So if you're strategic with the content of your podcast, you can make sure that it is directing people to the thing that you have for sale. Now, we also see a rise in website visitors. We can see a rise in Facebook likes. We can see a rise in Instagram followers. We can see all sorts of different metrics as a result of a podcast. Now, today's showcase, I am going to showcase the lovely Jo Soley and the Bizology Soundbites podcast. Now, this podcast is in its infancy. It's in its first season. And already, after one episode, we are seeing an increase in web traffic to Jo's website. We're seeing more people finding their way to Jo's website to listen to the podcast, because it's not only hosted on many different platforms, but it's also hosted on her website. So we're seeing an increase in website visitors, which we can also then capitalize on to increase subscribers, not only to the podcast, but to her mailing list, and ultimately see that filter into an increase in purchasing and inquiries to purchase from Jo. So it is actually within an episode already creating an impact in Jo's business. And you'll see that she said, it's an incredibly powerful medium. She says the podcast is incredibly powerful. The podcast course is incredibly powerful. Jo worked through Perfectly Podcasting to bring her podcast to life. But not only is it the course is really powerful, really easy to follow, and really impactful, the podcast is too. So she says that it takes you through everything that you need to know and do to set up your podcast without overwhelm. It's not difficult. makes it easy. You can follow along step by step, and it's really easy to implement. And it'll help you to create the structure in order that you can fly and get your podcast launched. And it's been something that's been on our list for so long, and within such a short space of time, it is now alive and kicking. And like we say, it is already creating a change in metric for Jo's business. It is already increasing website visitors, and then we will be looking to cascade that on to an increase in inquiries and an increase in sales. So when you think about a podcast, it isn't about its solo purpose. I talk about there being kind of three buckets in business. We're thinking about attracting new people, we're thinking about enhancing relationships with those that we already have, and we're thinking about conversion. The podcast can help you with all three of those. There can be a business strategy that soars through all of those elements, and there can be metric that we can track that isn't just listeners to the podcast, but we can see the impact that that has on other metric in your business, in people visiting your website, in where they're going after they're listening to the podcast, in being able to convert them into subscribers, not only to the podcast, but also to mailing lists, and also in that conversion piece to allow you to build your business, make more money, and create a bigger impact. So, Jo's podcast is incredible. At the time of recording this, I am the current guest on that podcast. So if you head over to josoley.com/podcast, you will be able to listen in and be able to listen to my numerology and what my numbers say about me. So go and have a little butchers. If you're listening to this at a later date, then no doubt you can scroll through the podcast feed. There'll be loads of great guests on there, but you'll also be able to find my episode in there too. So go and enjoy it. But that is the impact that a podcast can make in your business. It can increase all of the metric that needs to be tracked in your business, and it can help you find new people, enhance know, like, and trust, increase conversion, which is a no-brainer and can be done really easily, really quickly, and it's not a difficult add to your business. So if you are interested, then the Perfectly Podcasting program is under 50 quid. You can get your hands on it, work through it step by step, and bring your podcast to life. And I hope to showcase your podcast too, because I love listening in and seeing the podcasts that are created as a result of the program. Have a great day. Speak soon. Bye.